Okay, so let me get this straight. You are my maid now?
Oui,
You are to assist me in anything I need.
correct.
You have to obey all I ask of you.
Malheureusement, oui.
You're now bound to me until I stop being a guest in this hotel, and if I go somewhere, you are to come with me.
C'est exact.
And you're able to deny any request if you see it as too crass, exploitative, or demeaning.
Je suis peut-être une créature du vide, mais je connais mes droits.
Okay. Thanks for this. What was your name?
Mon réel nom est... Mais pour ne pas briser ton faible petit esprit, tu m'appelleras Larissa.
Ah. I see. Thanks. So, you want to be a part of this review, or...
Ah, regardez-moi ça, c'est l'heure de ma pause.
Something tells me that we won't be getting along. Anyways, I've never done this kind of review either, so it's a nice change of pace. I am a big fan of westerns. I don't really get to talk about it much, but I enjoy most of the things this genre offers. Hell, I really enjoy when aspects of it are included in stuff that have nothing to do with cowboys. But today's topic is something that sprung on me last year. I watched the movie Rango and thought to myself, this is a great movie. Everyone who's seen it knows it's a great movie. So I will try to sell it to those who haven't seen it yet. So here's the thing. I don't want to do the typical YouTuber review of just going through the entire movie's plot and pointing out what's happening on screen while making a few jokes. No disrespect to the YouTubers who do videos like that, of course, but I'd rather not rob people of the experience of watching something. Because be honest with me, how many videos have you seen on something you've never experienced before and then you didn't feel the need to go watch or play them yourself because you already vicariously experienced it through someone else? And if you so happen to be the 0.1% that go, actually, I never do that and totally go watch a movie after I watched a literal plot recap from a funny cracker, then congratulations! Here's your gold star for being a good noodle. Now get lost. To the rest of you that stayed and that are honest, let's get started talking about Rango. Starting with... Rango was thought up all the way back in 2003 by Gore Verbinski. If you don't know who that is, he is the guy who produced and directed the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which means that these ones are not his fault. So calm down. Also, he directed The Ring, the American remake of Ringu, and even made a few music videos all the way back in the 90s. Him and a few collaborators were having lunch and they pitched an animated western to each other. Of course, they couldn't quite work on it just yet because they were busy with this other project at the time. You've probably never heard of it, it's pretty niche after all. After the Pirate Trilogy, Gore had essentially made his own little circle of collaborators and friends. So he went on to ask them if they'd be down to work on this old project him and a few of his friends have been shaping up for a few years now. All of them were on board pretty much immediately since Gore was such a swell guy. Plus, the pitch was just too good to say not to.
And he said, how about an animated movie? And I said, oh no, that's so not for me. It's not my sensibility. I'm not funny. I said, but what's the story? And he said, well, I envision a Don Knotts movie with a lizard set in the desert with a bunch of Western characters. And I thought for about 20 seconds, I said, I have to do it, because it sounded so much fun.
And so began the production of Rango. The first stage of the movie was on a Hollywood Hills house where everybody working on storyboarding, modeling, and writing would have a nice place to be able to be more productive.
You can just incubate an idea and give it as much time as it needs to have. And the great thing about it is it's a place that people want to come.
This is my quest, that's what I'm telling you, come.
All right, hold on. Here, grip, pull, just do it. Pull it. Oh, dear.
It's not work, it's play. Let's be honest here.
Rango, like many animated movies, owes a lot of its success to a ton of people. Too many fucking people to even properly start. And so as to not just start reading off the credits of the movie, Here's some of the people I think deserve a mention here. Don't worry about the actors, we'll talk about them when I get to the characters. Anyways, John Logan is the writer of the movie, but the story was a team effort between him, Gore, and James Ward Burkett. James being credited as a character designer and even voiced a character in the movie. David Shannon is a co-producer and character designer who you might know because he is the guy who made The Art of Recess. Yeah. Adam Kramer was, surprise to nobody, a co-producer but also a model sculptor, which means that he was the one who had to mold every single design into something that could be replicated in 3D. And speaking of 3D, while the pre-visualization was made in-house, the people in charge of making this movie look the way it does is none other than Industrial Light and Magic, a special effects and CGI company founded by none other than George Lucas himself. This company has its finger in every pie you can think of, so I'll just mention their highlights. There's obviously the original Star Wars trilogy and the prequels, Indiana Sus, Jurassic Park, Terminator 2, The Mask, Avatar, most Harry Potter movies, Speed Racer, Iron Man, Tron Legacy, and oh yeah, Who Framed Roger fucking Rabbit? So, needless to say, this movie was bound to look fantastic no matter what. However, here's a fun little fact. ILM isn't an animation studio. It's a visual effects company. They enhance the way that a movie looks, but up to that point, they've never have actually animated a whole movie from scratch. Meaning that Rango was the first time that this company actually produced a movie. Which, to be honest, makes sense why they were the ones chosen since ILM also worked on the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Huh. Full circle. Alright, enough talking about how this thing was made. What exactly is this movie about? Well, Rango is the story about a little lizard man who really wants to be the protagonist of his own life. He lives inside of this little glass talking to himself because he's going insane with loneliness. Until one day he gets literally dropped in the middle of the desert, and he meets a ton of odd characters in this bizarre Wild West town, where he becomes the local sheriff after accidentally killing a massive bird that was terrorizing the population, and his first order of business being uncovering a conspiracy regarding who's been stealing the water from the town. Of course, there is a ton to this movie, like how Rango is not even his real name and that it's something that he thought up when he saw a bottle with Durango written on it. Which means that we're claiming him, by the way, he's one of us now. But Rango, the movie, not the character, at its very core, it's a movie about a guy who just doesn't know who he is, and his journey to figure out what kind of a man, lizard, he is. It very much is a character study, something that is pretty common among westerns actually. That's the gist of it. If you want a mature, funny, and thought-provoking movie, this one's for you. I can't think of many movies quite like it, much less animated. And speaking of animation, wow, this movie is pretty and ugly at the same time. I'm running into some problems here cause, like I said last time you were here, I'm not an artist. I'm not someone who can tell you all of these special art words that people use like appealing, atmospheric, dynamic, blue. But fuck it, I'll give it a shot. The way that this movie looks is absolutely stellar. It manages to replicate the aesthetics of the Old West so well. The locales, the outfits, the guns, the cacti even. And since this movie is starring a bunch of animals who live in the desert, you can bet your ass there's some fantastic designs. I'm just gonna show them off because, let's be honest here, you have eyeballs. Some are cool, some are goofy, some are hey yo, and some are a la verga! And some are cute, but in a gross way. Animation is great too. Honestly, I don't want to spend too much time on this one since I am not an animator. But all I can say is that the movement is very smooth. When there's action, it's frenetic and energetic. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention the textures! Dude, look at these ugly things. You can basically feel every scale, every hair, every feather. You'd swear these little bastards are real by how they mix realistic textures and cartoony designs. ILM, you guys are psychopaths. Those poor animators. Easily one of the strongest aspects of this movie is that you see every single imperfection in these creatures, and you're filled with intrigue. Like, shit man, what is your story? It definitely reminds me of something like Oddworld, where one of the main selling points is that it's, well, odd and kinda gross. I guess what I'm trying to say is, there's beauty in the ugliness of this movie, and it's one of the most unique movies I've ever seen. Frankly, I don't think I need to do much more to convey that this movie looks dope as hell. And hey, since we talk about how the characters look, let's talk about how they sound. Oh goody, another thing that it's going to be very difficult for me to explain why it's good. Joy. Now, before I talk about the voice actors, like I said I was going to, I need to talk about the music. Produced by Hans Zimmer, who you might know as the dude who produced these movies. The music of this movie is great. It really catches the feeling of the Old West perfectly. It's performed by various artists who all did a fantastic job. I know I'm not saying much here, but mate, it's great, just take it from me. Also, I cannot play it because otherwise YouTube is gonna get mad at me, and YouTube has been getting mad at me a lot lately. Anyways, on to the voice acting. As you can probably imagine, this cast of absolute weird, disgusting creatures needed a cast that gave them the exact same personality they exude from just looks alone. And by God did they, and then some. I'll talk about the big three characters from this movie, but don't worry, everybody did a phenomenal job and deserves a ton of praise. There is, of course, the man, the myth, the Mega Pint King himself, Johnny Depp playing Rango, in what I consider to be one of his best roles. Johnny did a great job making Rango sound like this snivelly but overconfident fool. It's honestly part of what makes this movie so compelling to watch. Hearing the progress in his voice going from coward to overconfident to a legitimate badass, it's fantastic stuff.
Look, I need water, hydration, my teeth are chapped. I need lotion. I'm down to one layer of skin already. Pretty soon I'm gonna start seeing my inside. Things are gonna be different around here now that Rango's in town. Got some new rules. I want my shoes shined every morning, my coffee hot, Danish on the side. Whatever you do, don't look me in the eye. Stay out of my peripheral vision. And when you see me coming, stand aside. I take large steps and I don't want none of you hayseeds getting your bodily fluids on my boots. It only takes one bullet.
You ain't got the nerve. Try me.
Beans is next. The rather neurotic and confrontational rancher played by Isla Fisher, who you might know as the most obvious joke in Scooby-Doo from 2002.
I'm Mary Jane.
Like, that is my favorite name.
Really?
Yeah.
Danger!
Isla did a great job portraying Beans' panicky and rough personality. I love the fact that she's a bit of a tomboy, but not in a women are better than men type way, but more of a my livelihood is at stake here and I'm coming along with you whether you like it or not type of way. Really makes you endear yourself to her a lot more. Not much else to add. Beans is great. Take it from me. A bean.
Mr. Merrimack, if I don't get some water, I'm gonna lose my ranch, and you're telling me that's all that's left in the whole town? Now, that just don't make no sense. My daddy was a great man, even if he did exhibit a proclivity for lagoons, and
Spicy.
you were eating his ashes. South Rango! If that is your real name, I am trying to save my daddy's ranch, which is on the verge of an agricultural meltdown while you playing patty cake with this here trollop.
I'm unhappy with the cup size. I said to Gore, I think Beans needs much bigger breasts. It's very important. It's in my contract that all my characters have very large breasts.
And so every single woman on earth said in unison, she was so real for that. Last but certainly not least is the most talked about character in this movie. The legend of the West himself, Rattlesnake Jake, played by Bill Nighy, who you guys might know as Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean. Yes, they have Jack and Davy playing rival characters in this movie. Which is why I personally consider Rango to be the real pirate sword, but that's neither here or there. Bill did a phenomenal job as Jake. He sounds the perfect amount of badass and absolutely terrifying, giving us what I consider to be one of the most menacing characters I've ever seen in a movie. And when you consider that the only character that comes even remotely close to that level is literal death, there is no higher price I can give. I tip my hat to ya, Bill.
Hello, brother. Thirsty? Do what he says, or by all the fires of the Black Pit, I'll squeeze them pretty brown eyes out of your skull. Sign the damn paper, woman!
Go to hell.
Where do you think I come from? Look into my eyes. I want to see you die. Go ahead, hero. Pull the trigger. You got killer in your eyes, son. I don't see it.
Now, while that would be the end of the whole voice acting part, I have to mention the way this movie was recorded. You see, in most animated movies, actors will be put in a booth and record their lines. However, in this movie, it was actually made in a more interactive and fun way. And that's because Gore is a fucking genius.
Animation's not a genre, it's a technique for telling a story. So why abandon the things that, you know, you've kind of relied on in your career? When you're making a film, you've got everybody on set, and everybody gets on their game because there's another actor, and they're reacting to each other.
They recorded the lines as they acted the scenes. The actors were asked to play out the scenes in a studio. Basically, they didn't just have to imagine their actions in the booth, they were doing them themselves. This way, the acting felt a lot more genuine, as the actors and their characters were now connected in a more personal way. Plus, it made for some very funny bits.
I'm getting tutued. Which one of you fellers needs a checkup?
Good thing I brought some backup. What the hell's going on over there?
They're having
What kind of movie is this?
Wow, a healthy environment for animators, actors, and writers? Boy, wouldn't it be nice if that was the norm? Wouldn't it be nice if we treated the people who bring us the media we pay for like human beings and not cogs in a machine? Wouldn't that be fucking nice? Ugh. Sorry, lost my temper there. Overall, this movie is a banger and should be treated as such. But how was it treated when it came out? And what is its legacy all these years later? Well, I'd say it did great. From its $135 million budget, it was able to gather over $245 million at the box office, making it a pretty moderate hit, I'd say. Is it the best Nickelodeon movie? I'd have to get back to you on that one. But I have to say, the fact that this movie exists is such a miracle. I can honestly say that it's one of the most unique animated films I've ever seen. The characters, the story, animation, it all just elevates it to such a point that it's hard to compare it to anything else. No wonder it won an Oscar at the time of its release. This thing deserves all of the awards. It's no shock that it inspires people even to this day, with some people even going back to it and remembering how special it is. I'm very excited for Gore's next project. Good luck, have fun, don't die. It's a sci-fi movie, so that's gonna be interesting. But yeah, that was Rango. A love letter to a genre near and dear to my heart, and a movie I'm so happy to have revisited all these years later. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give me a like, leave a comment telling me what you think, and share it with your friends. This has been The Analyzer, and... oh, there you are! I'm aware of the 15 to 20 minute break rule in most jobs, but...
Laisse-moi mettre les choses au clair, sac à viande. Je ne suis pas ici de ma propre volonté. Je fais uniquement tout cela pour ne pas avoir de problème avec elle. Alors je te le demande gentiment, garde ta gueule fermée avant que je ne prononce mon vrai nom. C'est compris?
Wow. You're really terrible at this job. Now, you might be able to obliterate me with a single word, but I have a bell that summons your boss. So what will it be first? You breathing in to say your name, or me moving my wrist to bring her in?
Vous les humains, vous êtes tous les mêmes. Je ne serai pas loin si vous avez besoin de quelque chose. Maître.
Thank you kindly, Larissa.